We are definitely in uncharted territory in these times, dealing with COVID-19, home quarantine, and all the complexities that come with it. So today, this is a special live episode of hashtag Keynote Speaker right here on my Facebook page. I tell you what, I've got a surprise for you today. Rather than, it's so easy to watch the news and buy into all this negativity, but today I have brought in the man who I believe is the happiest guy on earth. Look at him.
I've never been called that.
Let's roll the intro and then I'll introduce you to the one and only Dale Sidebottom. Influencing the thinking of billions of people every year. They are the thought leaders, educators, and extroverts. Meet the minds behind the microphones, the experts who share from the stage, encouraging us to think differently, do more, and ultimately strive to succeed. Welcome to the hashtag Keynote Speaker Show. Here's your host, Jonathan Creek. That's it. Welcome to hashtag Keynote Speaker. As I teased, see that I teased to get those viewers in, I have got the guy that I believe is the most positive and happy and motivated person I know. I recently had the honor of meeting him when he was performing his TEDx talk, and he did a fantastic job. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dale Sidebottom to the hashtag Keynote Speaker Show. Dale, welcome.
Jonathan, thank you so much, mate. And I'm very excited. Just listening to the intro. I don't think I'm much of an extrovert, though, mate. More of an introvert.
It's funny, you know, that comment on that intro gathers the most amount of commentary.
Sure it does.
People are really, really particular about whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. I even had a guy who's probably watching. Hopefully he is. And if he is, come in, leave a comment. We can see your comments. Came in and said, well, you know, it's not just extroverts who get on stage. You need to change your intro. And maybe with all this time on our hands, it might be a good time to change that intro, because you can be an introvert and speak from stage.
You can. I've spoke with a lot of introverts before, and what I find is when they finish speaking, they are just drained. They've got nothing. When I suppose that's where we're quite lucky, mate, that you know, I'm probably the same as I am on stage as what I am now when I'm at home. My wife is absolutely hating it at the moment, both working from home. She's like, do you ever stop? I'm like, no, I don't. So excited to be here, mate. I am an extrovert and ready to rock.
Awesome. Tell us about how you're dealing with this time, because we are in, as I said in the intro, we are in unprecedented waters. I mean, I've got a grandmother who just last week turned 101.
Oh, amazing.
We had to conduct her birthday party over Skype.
Wow.
She's probably one person on the planet who was around when something like this had happened previously, whether it's a world war or the Spanish flu. She was too young to remember the Spanish flu, but she was definitely around. But people like you and me, kids of the 80s, or maybe 90s, I don't know how you might be a 90s.
No, I'm middle 80s, 85, yeah. Right, bang in the middle.
Gee, 85 was the best summer I'd had as a kid. I reckon it was a good summer, 85. If you remember it, folks, let me know. It was 30 degrees every day. I don't know what it was. I got a Walkman that Christmas. I think that's
cassette Walkman.
Yeah, I've got it here somewhere. But yeah, we've had it pretty good. You must say, like anyone born from, say, post-Vietnam War onwards, it's been pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it has. And I suppose for me, like yourself, I work for myself full time now. That I think more at the start, it was more, I was disappointed. I've been full time. I used to be a teacher and I resigned from my teaching job about 3 years ago. And this year was sort of like when I'd really hit it big time, I suppose. I'd done all this hard work, and I've presented in 20 odd countries around the world now, and it's really great. But I had like this huge world speaking gig coming up this year, and like 40 or 50 gigs and all these different things. And so for me personally, I was really sort of disappointed that I'd put in all this work, and it just sort of all of a sudden I had nothing. Everything was gone. And I remember I was driving home. The last conference I did, I was speaking at, and I had to pull over on the way home, Jonathan. I just started crying. And the reason was it was just all that emotion. It was the uncertainty, and it was just like I'd lost everything. But then after that, once I cried, I was like, bang, all right, how can I help other people? And I suppose since then, I've looked at this as an opportunity. And like we were talking about before, that you can't change everything, and it's really important that you just live day to day. And it's a great opportunity to do things that you haven't probably done before, because you've got to try new things. You've got more time on your hands. So for me personally, like I said before, I've actually haven't felt this good in a long time, because normally my routine's all over the place. I'm traveling, I'm working, I'm doing all these different things that are really draining. Whereas now I'm exercising 3 times a day. I'm eating perfectly. I'm getting 8 to 9 hours sleep. And I'm probably the happiest place I've been in, I couldn't tell you how long. So it really depends, I suppose, how you look at things, mate. Yes, everybody is suffering and they're losing something, but you can also make it into a positive. There's so many things you can gain. You can learn a new skill. You can, take something up you haven't done for a while. You can spend more time with the people you're isolated with. And if you're by yourself, I'm sorry, get a dog. At the moment, there's so many dogs that from Christmas that don't have homes. Go and adopt a dog. You can spend some time with that. So for me personally, mate, that yeah, you're right. We have had it very fortunate that I think our whole life, we've sort of had that silver spoon, and I've been very lucky to have a great life. And this is sort of the real big hurdle. And, you can look at it one way. Yes, it's horrible, or it's an opportunity. And for me, it's an opportunity to help others and myself.
That's a really good way to think of it. Really awesome way to think of it. I think you're right, though. I mean, it is natural. I think you got to understand it's natural. When you lost those gigs or that world tour was postponed, it's natural to feel that disappointment. It's natural to feel that hurt and sort of that whoomph, your slump. And I think that, people shouldn't fight that. I think that there is a bit of a thread in the world at the moment that everyone wants to be happy all the time. They want to be on this high. You can't be. So you got to take those. You got to take those losses sometimes. Losses are a part of life. That's what starts with the L.
Yep.
But it's what you do after that. It's how you respond. Now, you're the motivational guy, not me. I've probably got a few more years' experience on you in terms of living, of being on this earth. And I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned when you start working for yourself. It's a very different pressure. Yes, there are lots of benefits being an entrepreneur, working from home. You get to do things like drop your kids at school and enjoy all that sort of stuff in life, but you don't sleep as well.
No.
Right? You don't get paid if you have a lazy day. When I used to work for a big corporate, maybe I'm letting a few skeletons out of the closet here. If I decided that I just wasn't feeling great, but I wasn't sick, and I just wasn't motivated, you could get through it. You could probably take a little bit of a hit on your reputation, maybe, or you could slide through. You still got that paycheck.
Correct.
Self-employed, you don't.
Yeah.
And I think with what's going on in the world at the moment, we've got to look to these self-employed people who, are at home. Some of them maybe by themselves. You tell us, I mean, how important is it for humans to be connected to other humans?
Yeah, well, and I think, I'll get to the connection because that's crucial, but I think being self-employed, the highs are higher than anyone would experience working for somebody else, and the lows are the lowest you'll ever experience. And it's that massive roller coaster that it's up and down, and you just don't know what's going to happen. But the thing is, you just move on, you keep going, you can't stop. And I suppose that's exactly the same now. You just got to keep going. And if people are struggling or your job may not be there or things like that, then find things in your life that represent some form of positive, or find something you enjoy doing and just do that every day, because then you've got one thing to look forward to. And like you just meant there, Jonathan, that human connection is the most important single thing that we have as a race, because we are human beings. We need to be together. We need to do things together. So, if you are isolated with somebody else, fantastic. Then find ways to play, make games up, get board games out. Just have fun together, get Monopoly out, cards, whatever it is, all right? Have that connection. And if you're isolated by yourself, this is a really hard part, and I've noticed this a lot from a lot of the work I've been doing with teachers and students that are isolated by themselves, that they're really missing that social connection, the thing that you get when you are around other people, because together we build that's when we're together, that's when we get our most creative, our strongest social circles, and we do that through play. So one of the best things you can do is, set up a play date on Zoom, or, I think even that new app House Party, where you can play games against each other, you can do a quiz or something like that. But the whole idea is that I think this will be a positive because people will realize how important it is to catch up with each other, to spend time, to invest in our friendships and our family. And for me personally, not being able to do that when you're restricted, that's one thing I may have taken a little bit for granted. And when everything's back to normal, whenever that may be, Jonathan, that I think a lot of people will really value that human connection and the friendships and family that they do have in their lives.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I mean, I remember when I first started working from home in 2012, I went through a bit of a culture shock in the sense that I was sitting in an open office, a newsroom, with 120 other people. Right, 37 TV screens. I remember sitting there one day, I could sit at my desk and I could see 37 television screens. And out the window was Docklands. So Balti Bridge, the shipping ports, they were building buildings. I was so overstimulated in that environment. Like if I wanted to talk to someone about Lego, I could go and find someone who likes Lego. If I wanted to talk to someone about knitting, I could go and find someone to talk about knitting. Right? It was almost like being in a supermarket of society. But to then switch and start working from home in this room just here, it's probably 5 meters by 5 meters. The view is, my back lawn.
Is it good lawn though?
Oh yeah, it's looking good at the moment.
It's all the rain.
Yeah. And then, and under my desk I got a dog, and I found that isolation really tough. And my escape then was I would, luckily we can work from laptops. We can work anywhere. I would go to food courts. I'd go up to, Doncaster Shopping Town and sit in the food court and work from there. Not that I'd talk to anyone or anything. Sometimes I would, but I just needed people around me. The problem with what we've got today is if you're doing this properly, you've got the people in your house. And, that for some people, that's no one. So I think things like doing it virtually is the key. The internet's there. The internet's a curse and a blessing, I think, in these times, because people get on there and they can do Zoom and they can do house party and all that sort of stuff. But then if they start spending too much time on the news sites and reading all the negativity around the world, I think, one tip that I would give to people is dedicate 5 to 10 minutes a day to get the facts that you need, and don't go back. And
then cut it. Just don't look at it.
And don't watch the 6 o'clock news.
Yeah, because that's all it is. There's nothing else to talk about.
No. So that's really interesting. So Dale, tell us about yourself. Where did you come from? You mentioned before you're a school teacher. Am I right in tipping or guessing that you're a PE teacher?
That's a great guess, mate. It is a good guess. So,
were you one of those PE teachers with the super tight shorts?
Always shorts all year round. I lived in London for 3 years, and my philosophy is when you teach PE, you should be in shorts. So I remember in the middle of winter in London for 3 years, I'd ride my bike to school every morning, it'd be snowing, and I'd be in my shorts. And you should see some of the looks I used to get, mate. It was like Jonathan, they were looking at me like, this Aussie has lost the plot.
He's mad.
He is. So a bit about me. So I grew up in Shepparton, country Victoria. And when you grow up in the country, to be honest, all my life revolved around with sport. And I think I tried every sport just about under the sun. And from there, I really enjoyed school, and I had a couple of fantastic PE teachers at school. And I just like, they empowered me. They were such good role models. Like, I'd love to do that one day for other students. So I went and studied 4 years in Ballarat, did my PE teaching, went back to Shepparton, taught for a year there, and then went over to London and travelled around sort of Europe and America and Africa. And I taught in a really good private school for 3 years in London. And then when I come back, I couldn't get a job, and I was broke, and I was living back with mum and dad, and this primary school in Shepparton rang me up and said, Dale, would you like to be a classroom grade 1 teacher for one term? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do anything. I need some money. And I was like, wow, that was the biggest culture shock ever. But I think that really taught me a lot of things. That my whole philosophy was just make it fun. Like each morning we'd do a half-hour dance party, and then we'd play a game, and then we'd do all these different things. And I remember one day, and this was when the Gangnam Style, remember, whoop, whoop. Remember when Psy did that? Anyway, I got it that well damn packed with my class that each morning would practice it. And somehow the principal was walking past giving these parents a tour one day, and where they're up there going whoop whoop, and like we'd have all the desks pushed back and we'd have it cranking, and she's just looking at me going, what is going on here? And she come in, I go, Judy, we do this every morning. We'll do the muck around, and she's just like, and these parents are just like, I don't know what's happening, but those kids still messaged me today and said that was the best term they have ever had. And it's funny. This is what I'm talking about at the moment, that we need to have fun. You need to do things like this at the moment. If you're stuck at home, you've got kids at home, do a dance party, learn a dance, go on YouTube, do something like that, because fun is the key. And I did this big webinar yesterday, actually, for all these teachers around the world are on remote learning. And my big 3 things were, and this is so simple and everybody can adapt to this, do not bombard people with just too much information. And that's what the news is at the moment. There's too much. And it's the same with everyone. Your job, whatever you're doing, don't bombard. And the other thing was, make it fun. Whatever it is, make it fun and move your body. That is all you need to worry about. And it's the same for us sitting at home now, like you're saying in your 5x5 office. Get up and walk your dog. I'm sure your dog's never had so many walks in his life. It's like, what has happened to me, Jonathan? But the key is getting outside, moving your body when you can, and just having fun, because, you know, everything is out of our control. We are on lockdown. There's all these things going on in the world. You can't control that. But the one thing you can control is what you do in the day. You can do your work. You can spend time with each other, Zoom or whatever, but you can make it fun. And I think that's the biggest challenge people are facing at the moment.
I can't even look at my runners at the moment without my dog getting excited. She's gone from about 2 walks a week. She's a Cavalier King Charles Spanish. She's gone from about 2 walks a week. She's got a big yard to run around in. She chases the cats. 2 walks a week. I reckon she's on 2 walks a day at the moment.
Yep.
With the kids home from school holidays, and she's getting tortured. The poor thing. She's getting dressed up and having her tail plaited, and
that's great though. Are you noticing on your walks that I always, and I'm a big believer in this, and I always say, good morning, how are you? And like, I scare people because people don't talk. Yeah. But now, every morning, people are yelling out over the other side of the road, morning, morning. Everyone's so excited. I'm like, why aren't they always like this? But have you noticed that people are, that because they're lacking that human connection like we spoke about, people just want to say hello?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't want to get too controversial here, but where I live is a strong cultural Chinese group, and they, and I don't want to put them all in the same basket. So this is just my experience over the last couple of days. It's not my opinion, but they seem to be hiding away a little bit more, and I think that's, they're face masked up, they're gloved up. I think they're hearing stories back from China, and they're worried and they're scared.
Yep.
And Aussies aren't that. She'll be right, mate.
I think that's where I live.
yeah. And so, when we go to the dog park, the dogs are meeting each other, and, the social distancing joke comes out that the dogs aren't doing it. And
they don't care.
No, they don't care. And I must admit, I've spoken to more people down at my local oval and streets in the last 2 weeks than I have previously. Yep. Maybe because we're out, I'm walking the dog at a more acceptable time than normal. It's not real early in the morning. It's during the day when more people are maybe up and about. But I've got some new neighbours next door who have come back from Canada, so they're quarantining in there. So yesterday I was hanging over the fence talking to them and realised that the fence probably needs a bit of work. So
there's a job for you. Go to Bunnings.
Well, the young guy that's moved in next door, he's a builder, so I might just hand it over to him.
Happy days.
I'll bring him.
Let me know what you owe.
I'll bring him the wood. He can do the work. But I think that sense of community always comes out, and I don't know if it's the same in other countries, but particularly in Australia, I remember distinctly when 9/11 happened. Yep. And when 9/11 happened, I was a TV news reporter, and
what was that like? That would have been like crazy, mate.
Yeah, the world was in shock. People didn't know where to turn. And it was interesting that, to begin with, people were sort of almost angry at us as reporters for bringing them this news. And they didn't...
Like, it's your fault.
Yeah, it was like they didn't want to hear any more of it. Stop, just stop. We're overloaded. We can't reach it. I don't think COVID-19's hit that yet with everybody, but I think it's probably close.
Yeah.
Danny Black has just given us a thumbs up, Dale. So say hi to Danny.
G'day, Blackie. How are you, mate?
And Tansel's jumped on as well. Welcome, Tansel.
The memory expert himself,
Yeah, he's got
Mr. Yellow Pages.
yeah, Mr. Yellow Pages. I think if I just click on his comment, it'll pop up on the screen. He's just called us legends. Thanks, Tanzel.
On you, mate.
Yeah, but with September 11, there was that sort of angst to start with, and then people started to turn into what you're talking about now, that sense of community, and we've got to support each other, and we'll get through this.
Yep.
And I think that's
Yeah.
a really important message, particularly, you know, that I got from you on your TEDx. Now, I've got a screenshot of your TEDx here, so let me see if I can share this up. Ladies and gentlemen, so TEDx, if you don't know, is probably one of the most premium stages you can get on as a speaker. Like, it is grand final day. Would you agree, Dale?
It was. That was, so as I said, I've spoken all over the world. I've been, you could name it, I've probably done the gig, but I have never felt anything or put the amount of work in for that. It was the scariest, most exciting experience, 15 minutes of my life.
And ladies and gentlemen, let's just have a look how Dale turned up. What he was wearing on what he describes as the scariest day of his life. Oh no, it's gone to the wrong thing. Hold on, my screen. There it is. Look at him. Look at that outfit.
Always dressed to impress, Jonathan. You know that.
And ladies, you can't see the shorts, but the shorts match. The shorts match the shirt. Mate, take us through that day for you, from the start to the finish.
Yeah, so I still remember, and Tanzel's listening, is the one that obviously created the whole experience and gave me that opportunity. But
Thanks.
I still remember rocking up and doing the rehearsal the day before, and there's about 4 people watching, and it was the most. I was like, oh, this is like, it was so hard. I'm like, I don't want to do it. It was really hard. Everyone's watching, they're judging, and I'm like, I didn't do it well. And anyway, I went home and I practiced a few more times, and I think I recorded myself about 35 times. So on video, I'd watch it back, I'd refine it, I'd make it better. But I think, like anything in life, the more you put into something, the better it becomes. And so I was really comfortable with it. I was happy. And I had my 2 sisters there, my mum and dad and my wife. And for me, that was a really special part of it. I wanted to share the whole experience with them, because my talk was obviously called Narcissistic to Nice. And my family's been through when I was a narcissist, and I would, just focus on myself. And I wanted to show them, the journey I've had in the last 4 years, and really have them there just to really thank them and share that experience with me, because they knew how much it meant to me. And so getting up on that stage, I think the hardest part was, I think I was about the 3rd speaker for the morning, and just waiting. I just wanted to get up and do it. Like, and you'll know better than anyone when you're doing a keynote or something, a lot of the time you're the main speaker. So you rock up and you do it, and you don't have to wait around. And I think it back to like when I was playing cricket, and you'd have to wait around to bat. I used to hate it. I'd prance up and down and wait. And then while other speakers
you don't seem like the kind of guy that could just sit there with your hands in your lap and relax.
Oh, I was hating it. I was trying my best. I don't know what I look like sitting there.
You were actually near me. So look, I'm not going to plug myself, but I was lucky enough to be emceeing this event thanks to Tanzel as well. And you were sitting in the front row, not far from where I was standing off stage.
Yep.
And you were just, you can't see me, but anyway, your eyes were so wide open, and you were just into everyone and talking to everyone. And I was like, yeah, this guy just needs to let out his nerves onto other people. Yeah, but hey, it's a big moment. It's a big event for a speaker.
Yeah, it was. And I think, like you said, I remember when we were talking before, and you said you did it the year before, and just what it felt like. And I don't think I really, I enjoyed it, but I don't think I enjoyed the experience as much as I would have thought, because I was just so, not worried, but I was so concerned on getting it right and getting those, the movements and everything. Yeah. So for me, I just wanted to make it perfect. I know there's no such thing as perfect, but the other day when I sat back and watched it, I've only watched it once, and that'll be enough. But I was more nervous when Tanzel sent through the recording to watch it, because I was just like, what happens if I've stuffed this up? So many people know I did it. I've talked about it. I've said I've done a good job. I was really proud of it. And then I sat there and I put my hood over. It was so weird. My wife goes, what are you doing? Like, I just look at this. I don't know what to do with my hands. I feel nervous now. And I sat there and watched it. I'm like, okay, I was really happy with it. I'm really proud of myself. And yeah, it's something that I'll always be able to look back on and treasure. And I just know the amount of work that went into it, and I know you're the same when you did yours, Jonathan, and anybody else that's done the same thing, or a big speaking gig. People go, "Oh, you wouldn't have to put much into it. You're a natural speaker," and yes, I am. But when I do a keynote, same as you, I can talk for 45 minutes to an hour and a half, and that is fine. I can make time up. I can do things. If things don't work out, I'll just make it happen. But when you got 15 minutes, there's no time to stuff around, and
It's
that was
actually
the most pleasing.
harder, right?
People go, oh, geez, 15 minutes. How do you speak for that long? I said, oh, give me an hour any day. Like 15 minutes, that's the hardest thing to condense a talk into. So, yeah, one of those things I always look back on, and I'm really proud of myself, to be honest.
Well, you should be, mate. It was awesome. And you did, you didn't do it easy. You didn't just get up there and do a talk. You actually started with an exercise.
I did, yeah.
To get you to do something. Now, in TED world, that's like, oh man, he could fall off the cliff immediately.
Correct.
The audience doesn't participate in this. This guy is sunk on the biggest stage on the planet. And, you owe me, because as the MC, I was feeling it for you. I was like, oh my God, oh jeepers. Because I'm not a big one of standing up and hopping on one leg at a conference. That's not my deal. But, mate, you nailed it.
Well, I talk about this all the time. I call it connection before content. So I think life is all about relationships, Jonathan. If you need to build a relationship with the audience, and for me, I do that through games, through interaction, through socializing, through play. And I call it play-based mindfulness, because when people are doing my clapping game, they're not thinking about anything else. They are so present. And once I can get them to do that, they would have been, they're really engaged. I've won them over. So for me, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I was able to see you now on this screen, I probably would have started with the game again, mate, because I feel it's a different thing. It sets the tone. And any session I'll do, a keynote, a workshop, a seminar, I will start with 2 or 3 of those. And it shocks people. It makes it fun, and it just flows in for the rest of your session.
Does it work in getting, because the hardest nuts to crack have got the hardest shells, right? So whenever you talk, you've always got these people who are like,
oh, mate, always.
Right, I go to all the time. Oh, yeah, you'll have someone in there. I've done more videos than this guy, or my videos are better than this guy. You always have the hardest nut to crack.
Always.
Have you had incidents where you do your games and just people don't participate?
Yeah, well,
and when you have that, how do you manage it as a keynote speaker?
Great question. So you're always going to have that. People are always going to judge you, and particularly if I rock up wearing what I do. Like I'll rock up to a keynote.
Safari suit.
Oh,
like,
safari
Jesus.
Suit.
Here comes another juggler.
Yeah, like he's another goose. What's this guy think he's going to do? And I believe that I wear what I want. It's not what I wear that's going to portray what I do. So when I started out speaking, I'd wear slacks and a shirt, and it wasn't me. I wasn't comfortable. So now I wear shorts and T-shirt and runners everywhere, and people will judge me straight away. And I used to find that quite hard. I'd see those people, instead of focusing on the 97% that are loving it, that are just in the zone, I would see the 3% that are hating it, that are not enjoying it. And it took me a while to realize that don't worry about them, because after 20 minutes of doing what you do, they will want to join in, because they'll see how much fun everyone else is having, and they're like, oh, I want a part of that. And what I find is I'll still see those people when I'm speaking, but at the end, they're the ones who'll come up to me and goes, oh, Dale, thank you so much. That was amazing. Like da-da-da-da. And you know what? I don't worry about that they weren't enjoying it at the start. It's at the end. And if you focus your energy on negative people, you're going to be negative. Whereas if you don't let that negativity get to you, it's like the news at the moment. Yes, it's doomsday, but if you keep watching it and overplaying it in your head, you're going to go crazy, right? Whereas if you try and focus on the positives, we know we can't control the news. It's the same as a speaking gig. Don't focus on the negative Nancys or negative Nigels. Focus on positive Pete and positive Paula and get around them, because at the end, they will all buy in if your energy brings that across. And I know not everyone, and people go, but I'm not like you, Dale. I don't bounce around. And Jonathan, that's fine. Everyone's got their own style, but don't focus on the negative people, because they'll bring you down.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting point. When I talk on stage, I'm a little bit different. I've got to the point now where I'm comfortable enough in what I'm presenting that I can start interacting and go off script a little bit and bring it back. Is that at the start, I'll always look for people who are into it.
Yep.
And I'll always bring them in. Like there'll be some opportunity to bring them in and the rest of the room to focus on them for a second. And then that helps people put their phones down because they're like,
Correct.
oh, hold on a minute, I've got to be on my toes because he might come for me next.
Yep.
The next thing I'll look for is who's the guy that's always on his phone and hasn't looked up, or girl. Yeah, who's the guy that's not buying it? He's looking at the roof, he's not engaged, right? How can I bring him in? Because if I can crack him, everyone's gonna, yeah, everyone's, and it's really interesting that I did a talk recently in Sydney. It was in the real estate space, and I got it videoed. So the guy that was running it in the room recorded it for me, but he recorded it on a really wide shot, so I could see probably the first 3 or 4 tables. And the main person sitting right in front of the camera is just on their phone.
Yeah.
And I looked at the first, I haven't watched that video through. I just watched the first frame to say, oh, let's see what the quality's like. And here's this guy on his phone. And the talk came in 4 files. So all the way through my talk. So I go to the second file, he's still on his phone. Third file, he's still on his phone. Fourth file, I'm like, this mofo is still on his phone. I didn't know that he was on his phone. Like, I can't use that on my website because, you know, people are going to book me, are going to look at it and go, oh, this guy's on his phone. Yeah. Look at this, the main dude. So I'm going to have to zoom it in and block it out. But those people, I just don't think you can save some people. There was a point that you made about focusing on the positive. I think that's going to be the good thing that comes out of this whole quarantine situation, is that people are going to understand or learn that you can get by without the negative people in your life.
Correct.
And the people who you're connecting with now, like I'm connecting with you, I don't see a time in the near future where you and I won't be chatting on Messenger or bouncing off each other, or, hey, I'm in Shepparton, let's catch up.
I won't be. No, I love Shepparton. But
love Shepparton. I'll see you up there. You've got to give me a tour. We're going to do a blocky. Go and visit that school principal.
I'll take you around.
But you know what? It's. I think people really need to look at the connections they're making in these times.
Yep.
The time they're spending right now, and have a look at who's adding to your life and who's taking away. You know, who's the Dementor and who's the Dumbledore, and you know, make an adjustment. There is a disruption in the world pattern which has invited change, and take advantage of that time in change.
Yeah.
To better yourself.
It's so true. And I think what you just said there about, you know, you're always going to have people on your phone. You're never going to, and that's, unfortunately, that's what you do. So my thing is, whenever I speak, and for any other keynoters out there, find something that, and I don't know if you do this, Jonathan, but do something that disrupts the normal. And for me, that is normally, I will ask people to take their seats. If they've got seats they can move in their tables, and we push it to the side, or we do something completely different. I put them outside their comfort zone, then I win them over. Whereas if you're doing a big keynote, everyone's sitting down, then you need to get them to stand up. You need to get them to move their body somehow, because when we move our body, we get the good endorphins. You need to get a little bit of touch, like high-fiving someone or some sort of connection, and then you sit down. Do something different, because what I find is, and why I started speaking is, like, too many people just come in and start talking and reading slides. I go, that's glorified reading. I could do that. I said, but you're not engaging me. You haven't built any rapport with me. My relationship, why should I listen to you? You haven't given me no reason to. So whenever I start, and I say this to people all the time, share something about yourself that will build engagement and win them over. And for me, that is through games. So yes, I got up and did a clapping game at TED, and I reckon when I practice in front of people, I reckon about 70% of people said, Jonathan, don't do that, Dale. Don't do that. It's not what TED is about. And I said, well, that's great, but that's who I'm about. And I'm the same when you speak. Find what works for you, but do something different to win them over. Don't just do the normal, because that's why people will be on the phone. And Jonathan, John, you could probably do anything for that guy sitting in the front frame, and he'd be on his phone. All right, I might get him up and do a dance or song or whatever, and then he'd go back to his phone. You're never going to win all of them over, but I reckon that shock tactic to win them over is the key.
Screw that guy.
Screw him, mate. Don't let him get you.
So let's talk about you and the speaking world. Obviously, this show's aimed at speakers and getting to know the people behind the microphone. The industry has imploded a little bit, particularly the live stuff, but there is hope. And you're starting to see a bit of that hope coming through only, 6-7 days into this? How's it affected you, and how are you tackling it as Mr. Positive?
Yeah, well, as I said before, like my whole year was booked up. I had a number of corporate gigs, speaking to different schools and education boards all over the world, like sports clubs, you name it. So a lot of the stuff I do is around sort of well-being and wellness, and I use sort of movement to do that. And I've got a few different platforms I do that. So for me, yeah, like a lot of it closed down. So what I've started doing is a lot of online webinars and things like that. And I've been quite fortunate. And if other speakers are listening here, don't just invest. And I was always told this at a young age, particularly when I started working for myself, don't just invest yourself in one thing, like all the speaking. Make sure you got other revenue streams and other things to back it up. So like I had 30 apps at one stage. I've got a couple of membership platforms. I've got other things that I've sort of been able to invest my time in now. So for me, all my speaking gigs I do over webinars and stuff, they now go into, and I've been doing this for a few years, but they go into a library for, like, it's an online professional development library for teachers, trainers, and coaches. And that keeps building and building and building. And now what I'm finding, because people have got more time on their hands, they're like, oh, where can we get more? Where do we want more learning like this? And so that side of my business is going really well. So I see once all this closes down, I know from my TED Talk and previous things I had booked in that I'm going to be fine, because I'm going into I'm over 3 years now doing this full time, that I've got a good reputation. I've got runs on the board. I've got a podcast nearly going for 200 episodes, that I've got things coming up. But I think the key is having different revenue streams that you can rely on when things get, a little bit tight like they are now. And so that's sort of where I've been focusing on lately. I think in the last 3 weeks, I think I've done something like 24 webinars. I've done bulk podcasts. I'm just trying to get myself out there as much as I can. This is the first live Facebook video I've done. So, do you know what I mean? Like all these opportunities opening up, Jonathan, because we're allowing it to, because we don't have other things going on.
Not much I can add to that. That is perfect. It's like, it is, I find this really interesting is that, when I left my full-time job, 2012. Big network, dream job of mine, but I wasn't in on it anymore. I need to do something else. In my heart, I was an entrepreneur, even as a kid. And
what was your first job? Sorry, mate. What was your first job?
My first job ever, or my first full-time job?
No, your first job as an entrepreneur, as a kid. What'd you do?
I ran a radio station in my street.
I love that. Good. Sorry, mate. Keep going. I'll
tell you. So go back over that story. Yeah. So basically, I grew up in a street in Mount Waverley in Melbourne in the late 70s, early 80s. And essentially, when I was 8 years of age, there were 17 kids under the age of 16 in the street.
Wow.
Right, so this street was just full of rats. Right? Rat packs, boys, girls, whatever. It was cool. And we used to play this game called Road Rules. And Road Rules was you're on your bike and would draw a line down the footpath like a road, and you'd ride around, and whatever was your nature strip was your shop or your business. And I was lucky enough outside my house, we had the fire hydrant, so I actually had a counter, like I could stand at it.
Yeah.
But after there was 15 lemonade stands in the street.
Supply and demand.
There was a lack of originality. There was one guy who wanted to be the policeman all the time, so he was the policeman, and I don't know what the last one was, but it was basically there was a flood of lemonade stands, and I was like, my mum and dad have got a great lemon tree, but the world doesn't need any more cheap, bad lemonade. But at the time, Dick Smith was around, Tandy Electronics, before Dick Smith. So Tandy Electronics had been selling this thing called a spy kit. And I was like, I'm right into this. I want this spy kit. Now, the spy kit was basically a listening device. You put it in this is what it said on the packet. Put it in your sister's bedroom and you can hear all her secrets. Legit, that's what it was. And what it was is it was just an FM receiver. You put it in the bedroom, you tune your radio into it, and you could hear what was going on in the other room. And I thought, well, imagine if I broadcast into this listening device and all the kids who have just got Walkmans for Christmas, because it was summer, could tune their Walkmans into my radio station. Then I can advertise and run a radio station. I'd have my brother's boombox there and play the music. And then I'd bring lemonade stand owners in to advertise why their lemonade was the best. And I got paid in lemonade. So I never had to buy any lemonade.
Mate, that is brilliant. I love that. Yeah. That's very entrepreneurial. Yes. I love it.
Then the next step on from that, my first proper job, and this is an interesting one. I was a ruckle. Do you know what a ruckle is?
No.
So a ruckle is a person who is inside the suits of characters. So my first ruckle role was I was Freddo Frog. So I had the Freddo Frog contract for 12 months, and it was for his 50th birthday. So I was very busy running around in Freddo Frog suit. I then graduated to, I did a couple of the others, did Caramello Koala and a couple of the others. And then I graduated to Crayola Crayon, the big red crayon. And
That's a cool one.
Yeah, that was a cool one because that suit came air conditioned.
I was going to say, I've worn a couple of these before and you just sweat. Yeah. Oh, they're hot.
Yeah, so I'd be in at Myer in the city and places like that wearing this suit. But the big red one, you'd put on this backpack and it was an air-conditioned thing, and then they'd put the crayon over the top of you. And, I mean, that was the greatest job in the world because we're talking late 80s, early 90s. It was $120 an hour, which some people would be struggling to get now, and you only had to work 15 minutes of the hour.
What? Yeah. How does that work?
Because it's too hot.
Oh, well, you probably wouldn't be able to do that now anyway. Would you be there'd be a rule against that?
I don't know.
I know they still do it at like the cricket and the footy.
I'd love to be a ruckle again. I couldn't do Carlton.
Didn't know his name.
I'm not built enough to be Mr. Blue or whatever he's down at Carlton.
I thought it was just a glorified dress opera. I didn't know it was called a ruckle. There you go. That's pretty cool.
There's a whole industry of ruckles worldwide. I mean, and I don't know if you're on TikTok, but
no, I'm not.
My kids have got me onto TikTok. TikTok's built for you, actually.
Oh, I know. Jeremy Phil said that. I'm like, yeah, I don't need another thing to distract me.
No, seriously, TikTok's built for you. But what I love about TikTok is I follow a lot of the basketball accounts, and there's a lot of the basketball ruckles, and they do the flipping slam dunks and stuff like that, and like they're next level ruckle.
Yeah, because they're actually they're like gymnasts. That's what they do.
No, I'm no gymnast. I broke my nose being a ruckle, actually. Had my nose broken. Let's
write this down. Ruckle. Bang! I've never heard that. Well, there you go. See, you can always learn something.
What was your first job?
My first job, when I was, I think, 8 or 9, I started my own lawn mowing business, and I would mow my neighbours' lawns. And I remember I made mum and dad. We didn't have that much money growing up. I made mum and dad buy me this really nice edger, and it's so funny now. In my shed at the moment, I've got that edger, and I still use it to do my. That's like petrol, whereas and it's a beast. Like it does these perfect edges. It's amazing. I love my grass. Whereas my mower and my mower and whippersnipper are battery
that grab out of context.
No, mate. People take it however they want. That's fine. But anyway, I used to do a really good business. I used to mow my whole street, and then people would start asking. So I'd carry my mower and I'd have my edger and I'd cruise around and I love that. I think my second one from there is I started importing fake Oakley Sunnies from America for like $5 a pop and selling them at school for $50. That was my sort of first sort of entrepreneurial, but I got in a bit of trouble for that.
That was your first dipping your toe into crime syndicates.
I don't think it's. I don't think you're allowed to do it. But anyway, I think that's really funny. So lawn mowing was my first passion, and I still really enjoy doing that now.
I grew up in a house without a lawn.
Did you?
Yeah. It
was
strange. I've got big lawns now. I have got a problem with my... Look, we really are digressing onto different topics, but my front lawn has winter grass issues in my buffalo, so...
I've got that too. But, my thing is that, I don't put much time into my front because you spend most of your time in your backyard, and for me, I get that perfect, whereas... the front comes and goes. Some people always park on it. It really annoys me, but how do you go and tell someone? So anyway, off topic. Don't worry about it. My nature strip isn't the best either.
If you need your lawns edged, call Dale. He's got a bit of time on his hands. Now I've got juga.life up on the screen. So this is your website. Tell us about this, what you can do, and other than lawn mowing services and edging. Which I do. I may engage you for that later because could you imagine this guy mowing your lawns? It'd be done like in 5 minutes.
I
Or it
wear,
takes me about an hour. This guy
I
just
wear
be,
a weight vest too. I always wear like a weight vest when I do it, so you're sort of double tipping, so you're getting the fitness, but then you're also working. But anyway, the website is Sugar Life. It means play in Spanish, and on there we've got a lot of different things. I did like a 30-day podcast where you could do a different mission a day, and it's something to go with. And from there, we created this online 30-day happiness course. And basically what it is, each day, I think it's crucial. And I've got my peg here. I think you need to get pegged every day. You need to have some form of play. You need to exercise. You need to have gratitude, and you need to do some form of giving. And together that equals peg. So I made a 30-day course where it focuses on that. There's videos each day. There is a different sort of game-based movement activity where you're moving your body and you're playing a game. And there's different challenges that you need to do each day. And you do that for 30 days. And they say after 21 that you form a good habit. And anyway, so after you do that for 30 days, you should be great. And it's probably a really good time now if you're at home with your family or somebody else. These games are very inclusive. So you get that human connection. You're playing, but you're also moving your body. So I've made that free for the last 2 weeks, and I'll keep it open until as long as people are locked down. So if you go and check that out on the sugar.life website, it's a 30-day challenge. I think it's the paid course, normally $297. If you type in the code word kindness, or in capital letters kindness, you'll get that for free, and you can start exploring that. And I think it's a really good opportunity to try that right now, and probably gives a really good idea of what the program is about. And through that, that's a lot of the corporate work I offer as well. And there's also some daily mission cards on there, which are little cards you do each day, which, some form of kindness or empathy or self-appreciation or gratitude, or just basically doing something for somebody else. And like I said before, I think when you were talking at the start, Jonathan, like how I'm coping with all of this, I've got through this because each day I try and help somebody, or I try and make somebody else's day better. And like I said in my TED Talk, when you do that, you get a hit of the oxytocin, the love drug. And I think we all need a little bit of that now. So if we can stop focusing on how much supplies I have or what I've lost or if I've got enough toilet paper, and instead of thinking about that, like with your neighbours, they're in quarantine, how can I help them, right? How can I be of service to somebody else today to make their day better? It'll help everyone's mindset shift. And I suppose that's sort of what the brand's about. And go and check it out. If you want to try the course, go for it. If not, it doesn't worry me because it's free and I don't make any money out of it. So, I suppose it's there. I'm sure you'll put a link into the show notes, Legend.
Yeah, what a great offer. So thank you for that. Very kind. So if you are watching, whether you're watching this live or after the fact, Dale's made a pretty kind offer. Look at that. He's living his own motto here.
I am.
Capital letters kindness is the code to get the discount off the course, which is called?
It's like on there, it's like the 30-day happiness course.
30-day
so you scroll down.
Course. We're probably going to be locked down for 30 days. So why not be happy while you're doing it? I think you're right, though. I think the way that you can get through this is how you serve others.
Correct.
And, that's exactly what you're doing here. So thank you, mate. I'm sure the audience are really going to appreciate this.
Nice.
This video I will be uploading up onto, in part, on the first 10 minutes anyway, on LinkedIn. So it's open to everyone who sees this. So first 10 minutes on LinkedIn, the rest of the show you can watch on Facebook or YouTube. So we'll get around. So take advantage. This is people offering real help through tough times. Dale, as he says, he speaks around the world on this stuff. You can tell just from this talk, he's high energy. He's going to, you want him in your life, this guy.
Only a little bit. My wife's had enough of me. 2 weeks at home. Ooh, I get a bit much after a while, Jonathan. So small doses.
Wanted. New home for hyperactive husband.
That mows good lawns.
But good with lawns and edging. I think you're right, though. I think when this first hit, I sort of went into that cycle as well. As rather than worrying about myself and getting deeper and deeper into this doom and gloom of what's going to happen with the world, events are being cancelled left, right, and centre. I did exactly what you did. Let's focus on helping other people. And I actually, between you and me, went to the school crossing guy. We've got an older Greek guy who does our school crossing. I think he's about 86.
Yeah.
He loves his meat. He hadn't been able to get any meat from the supermarkets. I said, right, my kids are in school. You finished doing your crossing job. I'm going to take you down to Aldi when it opens. I'm going to fight the crowds, and I'm going to get you some chicken tenders. Is all he wanted.
That's it, chicken tenders.
We fought through the crowds, and I'm telling you, this was a couple of weeks ago. It was on Donkey Kong,
like running of the bulls.
Oh yeah, and there was no way he was going to get through the crowds. So yeah, basically, I'm not the
Good on
biggest.
you, mate.
I'm not the biggest bouncer in the world, but
I
I've got a
like
low
that.
center of gravity, and I was able to get in there and get this guy's chicken tenders, and you're right, I felt good,
You do. And
and I
that
didn't
I
do
think
that.
it's so simple, isn't it? Like, it's so simple, mate. Like, just each day. And it's not even, you don't even have to spend money half the time. It's just thinking, just do something nice for someone else. And you don't ever want anything in return. Never, ever. This doesn't work if you're keeping score. All right. And there's a great book called The Go Giver that is 50-50 is a losing proposition. If you do something and then expect it back in return, you're going to be a miserable person. And like you just did there with the lovely school crossing guy, Jonathan, you did that because you wanted to help him out. You feel great, then you go about your day. And I think that if everyone can do one of those a day, it's contagious.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to look out for your neighbours, particularly if you've got elderly neighbours.
Yep.
We've got we're probably the youngest family in the street, to be honest, and we've got people who've been living in this area for 50 years or so. They're scared to go out. Yeah, they are. They're in the target demographic that this thing is really affecting, and they're scared. So give them a phone call, ask them if there's anything they need, get it for them, maybe even pay for it if you can afford it.
If you can.
It will
And that's the thing. People don't always
change their
expect it.
lives. It'll
It will.
change their lives. It'll give them what they need to get through this, and on the other end, it will return. It's a boomerang, this stuff.
100%. Yep. So true. And I think that's the thing. If you can afford to help somebody else out, then, by all means pay. But a lot of this time, it's not even about the paying side of things. It's more about, showing that care, showing that empathy for someone else. And empathy is really just seeing it through somebody else's eyes. And you can see when someone else is struggling and, you can see what they need, then just go and do it for them. All right. No, I think that's exactly what you just said there, mate. The old boomerang, I call it the kindness boomerang, happiness boomerang, whatever you want, whatever you put out, it'll come back.
It will. Dale, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Is there anything else that we haven't covered that you'd want to mention? Any last parting pieces of wisdom that you'd like to put onto the hashtag Keynote Speaking community? You've been awesome. You've shared so much already, but I'm sure you've got one more little piece of gold, and then I've got a little bit of a curveball for you.
All right, mate. I like a curveball. I've learned what a ruckle is today. I think that's something really important to know in life. But the one thing I want to share is I think my TED Talk came out at a really good time, and I think the message in there, I talk in it about a PAL message, which is where you write a message to someone. I did this for 100 days. I write a message to someone saying, I'm proud of you, I admire you, and I love you for something. And I think that more so than ever, we need to do this now. So if you do have a spare 15 minutes, that is all it is. Watch my TED Talk. There's a few good messages in there. Play the game at the start. I think that's really important. Try and master it. Play it at home. Play it over Zoom. Play it with your family, whatever. But more importantly, express to people what they mean to you and start doing it now. Lay everything down. Be vulnerable and put other people first because, we need it. We need it more so than ever now. All right, Jonathan, I'm up on the mound. I'm ready to get this curveball.
All right. If you're looking for Dale's, before we get into this, we're looking for Dale's TEDx, just type in Dale Sidebottom, as it's written on the screen there, TEDx Docklands, it comes up. It's called Narcissistic to Nice. It's got over 3,000 views already. It's only been there up for about not even a week, so great job. You're striking a chord there. 52 thumbs up. Good job. When mine went up, I was actually having a beef with a guy with a group on Facebook, so I got about 8 thumbs down in the first 4 minutes that mine was loaded. These guys were waiting for it to come up, and then they just smashed me.
Slayer.
That still stings me. I don't know how to get over that, but yeah, you're another jerk in my life that I have to deal with. But anyway. Get on there. If you've got a spare 15 minutes, make sure you watch that TEDx. Yeah. It is actually under 15 minutes, 14 minutes, 56 seconds. Well timed.
Thank you. Must have practiced it a few times.
Here comes the curveball. Because my talking topic is viral videos, I pay homage to my own topic, which I've been researching since 2009 on this show. And so what I do is I have the guest that's on the show nominate and help me hunt out the next guest.
Okay. Yep.
Now, I never give people a heads up on this because I don't want them to prepare, I'm going to go and get someone I don't really know and warm them up. So it's got to be, who do you think would be the best next guest on this show? And so that at the end of 100 episodes, I can say I've been from here and ended up here, and you were part of that chain, because that's what viral content and connection's all about.
Love that. I think that's a great way, not only that, but for you to get a new contact as well, because I know my podcast, the hardest thing is coming out with guests. So firstly, Jonathan, that is a great idea to do. Put me on the spot.
Don't expose my business model.
Mate, that's a great business model, though. I reckon more people should adapt to that. Just off the top of my head, my mentor and my good friend, his name's Jared Robinson. He was the one that taught me how to speak all over the world, taught me how to put the back-end systems in, how to book gigs, everything like that. He started his main business as the PE geek. So he brought technology to schools. And then from there, he's created this company called App Match, where he makes these specific apps for big corporates and things like that. He's run his own conferences all over the world. That was the first big speaking gig I keynoted, the one in Dubai. He is probably one of the most switched on guys when it comes to technology, websites, booking things. I reckon he would be a fantastic guy to pick his brain. I am today where I am, Jonathan, because he's pushed me. He said, Dale, you need to do this. You need to start a podcast. You need to do these certain things. You need to charge this. You need to do that. And without somebody like that, like you were saying, you've got a really good mentor in Rick, that we need a couple of good mentors in our lives. And for me, I would not be here today. I wouldn't have done that TED Talk, so I wouldn't have the confidence in myself without Jared Robinson. So I'm going to connect you with him.
I look forward to it. Sounds awesome.
He's a superstar.
Well, as are you. And I remember standing there with you at the end of your TED Talk and thought, yeah, this guy has, brought tingles to people. And that's the effect you have on people. You, I don't know how you do it, but you've got this energy that you have and you inject it into others. You transfer it somehow.
Thanks,
and
mate.
That's your gift. That's your gift, my friend. I'm glad to know you and to have had you on this show. And hopefully this is the first of many, many chats and live streams and whatever we do together, because I could listen to you all day. I think you're not only hilarious, but you're very knowledgeable, and just the way you deliver it makes it interesting and engaging. And congratulations to you. Well done.
Thanks, Jonathan. I really appreciate it, mate. Looking forward to having you on my podcast next.
Oh yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a little switcheroo.
We are.
And we've got to come up with different content. So
I'll sort that out now, mate. Don't worry about that.
Dale Sidebottom, thank you for being on #Keynote Speaker. My very first live-to-air live guest.
Loved it.
You got the little red live up on the top. That is it. That is the feather in your cap for today. It's been awesome, mate. Thank you so much for joining us on #Keynote Speaker. Soon to be on all podcasts platforms as well. So
good. That's exciting.
Yeah, not just Facebook Live. So we're going to strip all the audio out. I've got this time on my hands now, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to repurpose these episodes.
Love that, mate. And our podcast's only going to get bigger and better and stronger. And that's what people do these days. So that's a great idea to use this time for.
Dale Sidebottom, thanks for that 1 hour of greatness. Cheers, mate.
Jonathan Craig, thank you.